Hello everyone. I'm Shahzawad. I had taken a session yesterday for IGCSE Maths Paper 2, and today is our Cambridge Vantages last session for this May June session. We'll be having a workshop on Paper 4 today. Give me just a second. Can you all please confirm if you can hear me? Thank you so much. I'll be screen sharing in a second. Can you also please confirm if you can see my screen? Yeah, can you all see my screen? Okay, thank you so much. I'll be actively asking you questions, as in if you can see my screen or if you understand what I'm saying. I hope you stay on interacting with me and you keep on responding, whether you can see whether you understand what I'm saying, or whether you've gotten the same answer, or if you have any questions. Okay. So we'll be covering IGCSE extended paper formats today. And the difference between paper 1-3 or paper 2-4 components is just that, as in the difference between the normal one and the extended one, is just that the extended versions have a slightly bigger syllabus. And I feel like the question papers are slightly more difficult. So they're expected that paper 2 and paper 4 candidates are a bit better at maths than the paper 1 and 3 candidates. So that is exactly how it's phrased in the syllabus. So that's the first thing to get out of our way. Before I start the session, I think most of you, if not everyone, were present yesterday. So you have already gone through the explanation of the mark scheme like I was doing yesterday. But even then, if there was even at least a single one of you who were not present yesterday, I'm still going to be going through the mark scheme over once again, and I'll be explaining how to read the mark scheme, just so you know what Cambridge expects from you when you write the answers. Okay. So the first thing I want to cover is this is a normal mark scheme. I'm opening the mark scheme for IGCSE paper 4 of May June 25. So it's the exact same paper that we're gonna solve today. And I'm opening the mark scheme so I can show you a couple of things. So the first couple of pages here are just for the examiner who's going to be marking your paper. So they need to know how Cambridge expects them to mark as well, and what is expected from your marks or how to give the marks. So this is, you should read it once. This is important. So read this once and you see how Cambridge allows you to get away with things and how your paper is basically marked. And secondly, this is the most important part. Okay. So some of the things you have to know in this from this segment is the first one. Just a second. Let me just, yeah. So the first one is M, which stands for method marks. Okay. So method marks is basically, these are awarded for using the correct method. So you can get this mark even if you make a calculation error, as long as you write the formula properly and you plug in the values properly into the formula, you will get the method mark for it, even if your answer is wrong because suppose you made a mistake in typing in the calculator. Okay. So method mark is the most important mark in the entire paper. This basically proves how much the student knows the syllabus and how much they have practiced or how much they know how to use the formulas. So throughout the paper, you're going to see a lot of M1s. Just for example, in this question, you get the 1 mark just for writing the formulas. Okay. So out of 3 marks, 1 mark is just for writing the correct formula, and the rest 2 marks are for the answers. Okay. So these 2 marks is B2, which you get for the answers, and this M1 is for the method used. So imagine if you wrote the answer without writing any method. There are 2 scenarios in this case. One is that your answer is considered to be invalid because you didn't write any workouts for it. Or number 2, even if your method is slightly correct or even if your method is not entirely correct, you might get the independent marks for it at times. So you might just get the marks for writing just the answers. Okay. So that's the M1 mark or the method mark. At times it's gonna be M2, at times it's gonna be M3. But usually the mark scheme breaks down the steps for each step you get M1. So you're going to understand that which methods are most important for which questions. And when you practice a lot of papers, you're going to come across the same type of questions over and over again. So it's very advisable that you look at the previous papers and you look at where the method marks were for those types of questions, so that when you attempt the same questions in future, you know exactly how to answer those questions or exactly what steps to write. Okay. So this is the most important one. The second one is accuracy mark. This mark is given in very simple words, is given just for the correct answer. or the exact step right after the method mark. Okay, so when you write the answer and then when you write the formula and you plug in the x values, the y values into the formula, whatever calculation you do and whatever the final answer you get, for that you get 1 mark. So there are times when you don't get the accuracy mark, but you get the method mark. And there are at times when you don't get the accuracy mark because your method mark was wrong. So if your method was wrong, even if you write the answer, there are times when the question is not going to give you the mark because your method was wrong. Okay, so you have to earn the M mark as in the method mark first in order to get the accuracy mark. Make sense? Are you all with me so far? Okay, please stop me at any point if you feel like you have a question. Okay, let me just make sure that I have my sound on. Yeah. Okay. So the last one, not the last one actually. The next one is B, which stands for independent marks. Okay. So independent marks are the ones where you get the marks just for writing the answer, and your workout, your method does not matter here. Okay. So these are free marks for the correct results or statements that don't depend on a specified method. So even if I don't write a method or even if I don't provide explanations, as long as I get the correct answer, I will be getting the marks for it. That's basically how the independent marks work. Okay. Do any of you have any questions? I think there's a mic moving. Okay. No worries. So that's for the independent mark. We've covered 3 so far. There is one more, which is very important. One of the most important is the follow through mark. Okay. So follow through mark is basically where if you make an error in part A, this is basically there's another name for this. This is error carried forward. Okay. So error carried forward. As the name might suggest, it's basically saying, let's say part A had asked you to find the value of k, and part B requires you to solve an equation like 3k plus 2 equals to 10. Okay, for example, that's the workout. Or let's say this is equals to 11. Sorry. So let's say the actual answer of k is equals to 2. Okay, let's say the actual answer for k is supposed to be 2, but in your workout, you got k is equals to 3. So you don't get the marks for this, right? For part A, you lose the mark because your answer of k was wrong. But since in part B and part C, you were required to, let's say, use it again, let's say 2k is equals to 1, and then let's say, sorry, let's put some other values here. Let's say this is A and this is B. Okay. So for finding A and for finding B, you are supposed to use the value of k in part A, right? You're supposed to use whatever value you get from k and you get the answers of A and B. So the mark scheme is going to have specified answers for A and specified answers for B as well. But since your answer of k was wrong in the first step, all of your corresponding answers should be wrong, right? This mark basically guarantees that as long as your method and understanding is okay, even if you had gotten a wrong answer in the first step, as long as you keep that value consistent throughout the rest of the math, you are going to get that mark. Does that make sense? So even if I had gotten the wrong answer of k here, the mark scheme would have required me to plug in 2 here because that's the correct answer of k was 2. But since I got k equals to 3, and if I plug it here and whatever value of a I get, the mark scheme is still going to give me the marks for it because they know that if I had gotten the answer of k right in the first math, then I would have also gotten the answer of a and b correct in the second and third steps. Are you all with me? Do you all understand what FT means? Okay. The problem with FT is that it's not always promised. It's not like this mark will always be given to you. So you can't be as lenient thinking that I can make as many mistakes as I want because the mark scheme is always going to carry forward the mistake. It's not going to work that way, okay? It's in very special cases. So there's that, but I just wanted to know what the mark scheme says at times and what it means at times, okay? Another one is for SC, the special case, okay? Just like FT, the special case, there's another one just for special case, okay? Let me just see if I have any special cases in this paper so I can explain it to you better. Okay, I can't see one. Is that special apparently? So I have one. So special case basically says even if you have not written any of these steps and you lose M1, you lose M1 here as well. So I lose all the marks here, but I got the right answer. Okay, so let's say the question was this, and the very next thing I write is answer is equal to 91 over 190. I gave no explanation, I gave no answers at all. In this question, even though there is method marks, and like I said, if you don't write the method, then you just directly write the answers, you won't get the marks. This special case says that even if you just write the answer and nothing else, you will still get the marks for this question. Okay? And it's very rare. It's very rare. As you can see in every other math, there is no special case here, right? So this M2 and this M1, they make sure that in order to get the full marks for this question, you have to write the methods. Does that make sense? Are you all with me about what special case is? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Please keep on asking me questions if you feel like there's something that I should be explaining further. Okay. There is a couple of more things that you should know. Let's say ISW. Okay. ISW is not something you necessarily have to know in order for checking your own paper. ISW is basically something in which the students get the benefit of the doubt and your examiner is going to forgive you for mistakes in very special cases. What are those? That's basically saying, for example, the question had asked you to find the value of x. Okay. So there are times when instead of asking a specific coordinate from the graph, the question only asks from you what is the coordinate of x, right? So let's say, what is the x coordinate of A? Now, let's say a student didn't read the entire question and what they just read this part and they assume that I have to write A in terms of x and y. Okay. So what they do is they do a lot of workout to find the value of x, let's say 5, and then they plug this 5 in the y equation and they get y equals to 7. So they write the answer as 5, 7. Okay. Now, since the question had said what is the x coordinate, right? Now imagine if the actual value of y was 10 and my calculation of 7 was wrong. Okay. So the question didn't ask for it, but I still wrote the value of 7 and my y's value is actually wrong. It's supposed to be 10. Even in this scenario, the examiner cannot cut any marks from me, okay? Because ISW says that right after I get this value of 5, as long as this answer is correct, the examiner or the person checking our paper, they have to ignore everything afterwards, okay? So as long as they see the answer somewhere in the step, they have to ignore everything from that point onwards. So even if my value of y was wrong here, they will not cut any marks for this and they will just like give me the full marks for writing this part. Are we all with me? Okay. The last thing I feel like I should cover is DEP, the dependent one. This dependent one basically refers to steps that are dependent on you using it somewhere else before. Okay. So you can't just bring x equals to 5 from nowhere without introducing this value first or showing where you had gotten this. If there were 2 marks attached to just finding x in the previous step and you skip the entirety of it and you just came to x equals to 5 and you just randomly started using that value of 5 from nowhere, you will not get the marks for this. So dependent basically refers to that you can only use this value as long as you had provided this somewhere else. That is what dependent means. Does that make sense? And the last one is or equivalent. This is another place where the students get benefited. That's basically saying, for example, the answer is, let's say, 20, just let's say 20 over 100, okay? So when you do probability, there are times when you can just write the answer as whole, as fractions like this without factorizing or without making it even more simpler, okay? So if the answer is this, and I write 0.2, or I write 2 by 10, or I write 1 over 5, all of these represent the exact same thing, right? So these are all or equivalent, OE, or equivalent, okay? That's basically what it means. You will often see that the answer just says OE. Let's see. See, for all of these, it says OE, OE. This basically means that as long as you somehow reach this formula in any other form or state, or in any other value which is equivalent to this, you will get the marks for this. Okay, that's basically all you have to know. So the way I want you guys to observe these and learn this is because it's through checking your own papers after you have solved the paper and you see what the marks team would have expected from you or what the marks team asks from you. Because there are times when you're going to see that you have written all the answers correctly or your answers match with your friends, but your friend gets more marks than you or you get more marks than your friends, and then you're both left wondering where you had gone wrong, or is Cambridge being unfair to you or your teachers are being unfair to you. They're not actually being unfair because just writing the answer does not guarantee the full marks. You have to write some mandatory steps in between to get to the answer. Okay, so you have to understand these through these M1 or these B2, these lines or these indications, these guidance points from Cambridge, which basically helps you understand the syllabus better, and you can understand the expectation that Cambridge has set from you on what steps you have to write, what things you can just write mentally, and what calculations you have to show. Are you all with me? Can I see thumbs ups, or if you have any questions, can you please ask me right now? No questions? Okay, wonderful. So we had covered paper 2.2 yesterday of summer 25, and we are going to be doing paper 4 today. It's basically a paper with calculator. Uh, let's just go to the codes once again. So I believe all of you will be sitting for this code. It's IGCSE Maths 0580. So the reason they have subject codes is because for each subject, they might have, as far as I know, IGCSE itself has at least like 4 to 5 mathematics courses that they provide. Okay, so the one that you will be sitting for is 0580. There's 4 to 5 more variation of mathematics subjects from IGCSE. So just to differentiate from that, you have a subject code. The first letter that will always follow subject code is basically the paper number. So paper. We are doing paper 4.2. That means we're doing paper 4 of IGCSE Maths. And yesterday we were doing 0580 over 22. So this would have referred to doing paper 2. Okay. The following number, this one and this one, this basically refers to the variance. Okay. So the variant that we're doing for today is paper 4 variant 2. Okay. So this refers to the variant. In other countries or other regions, they might sit for different variants. So there might be 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3. For every single exam component and exam paper, there's exactly 3 variants. So your paper 1 should have paper 11, paper 12, paper 13. Your paper 2 should have paper 21, 22, 23. Okay. Only the February-March variant, only the February-March exam session has just one variant of 2.2, 4.2, basically the variant 2. Okay. So in total, for every single year and every single exam session, you have 7 papers per, you have 7 variants per paper. So you have 1 during February, March. You have 3 during summer, as in May, June. Let's just write MJ. And then you have 3 during October, November. Okay, that's basically how Cambridge gives you the papers throughout the year. For this paper, you will have 2 hours, but truth be told, if you are well rehearsed and if you practice enough papers, you should be able to solve the paper by 1.5 hours maximum. Okay, it should not take you more than that. And also, the reason that our workshop is going to run a bit long is because I'm going to explain every single question without exception. But when you will be attempting the questions yourself, you will have chapters which you are very, very well versed in, and you don't have to think that much in solving those papers or solving those questions. So obviously you can solve those in less than 20 seconds, right? So there's that. Always read the rules before starting the paper. They're not very unique. It's the same rule for almost every single paper. The tracing paper is required in paper 2. We don't necessarily need this in paper 4, but there are still a couple of questions in rotation that you might have a use for. So it's totally up to you. I personally never had to use this, but if you want, you can obviously use this. And if you're used to it, then I hope you use it. But make sure if you plan on using the tracing paper, practice with it before the exams. Don't let your main exams be the first time that you hold the tracing paper. Okay? You should know how to use the tracing paper, and you should know how it functions, basically. Okay? Don't carry any correction suites, and don't use this. Obviously, don't use something that's going to go away, and don't use any correction suites. If you have to cut an answer, cut it properly. Like if you wrote this or if you wrote this, then just cut it this way. Okay? That's basically how you're expected. You can only use dark blue pen or black pen, nothing else. And what else do we have to use? We are allowed to use a scientific calculator in this paper. In paper 2, it is strictly prohibited, and I would highly, highly recommend that you don't even carry it with yourself, because there are times when the student's paper gets cancelled just because they were carrying a calculator, even if they were not using it. Okay? So there is that. One more important thing is write every single answer, and I mean every single answer, in 3 significant figures, unless the question asks you differently. Yeah. Unless the question asks you differently. So there are times when the question specifies that write in 4 decimal places or write in 5 decimal places. So in those questions, you can use something else. But apart from that, always write in 3 significant figures. Okay. The second thing is, when you're working with angles, you can also write in 1 decimal place. So that's basically saying if it is 22, don't write 22. Or you can just write 22. It's not a problem. You can also write it this way. Sorry, I'm a bit sick. If you have something like 22.37, write this as 22.4. Okay, am I audible? Can you all hear me? Okay, thank you so much. I believe so far you understood all of this. For pi, just use your calculator. Don't use any decimal. Please don't use any decimal. It's gonna complicate things. Just use your calculator and use the value of pi. Don't plug in, let's say for 2 pi, don't plug in 2 over 22. You can just do that, but don't plug in anything like this. Don't plug in this, okay? It might cause some problems. Don't use this. Just use directly 2 pi, okay? Um, I don't think there is anything else to cover here. Everything else, I hope you can read and you can understand. So the formulas here, these are all for the chapter mensuration. This is the quadratic formula, and these are trigonometric ratio formulas that we're going to use in almost every single paper. Mensuration, I feel like the chapter only gives you like one or maximum two questions per paper. They don't give you more than that, but it's very advisable that you know how to use every single one of these formulas. For example, there is a lot of students who don't know the difference between a normal surface area and a curved surface area. Okay, so it's very important that you know every single one of these formulas and you know how to use these formulas. I know the formulas provided to you, but don't just rely on this. I hope you rather prefer knowing how to use the formulas and how to plug in the values and all the types of questions that comes from mensuration. Okay, it's one of the harder chapters for the students in IGCSE and also A levels. So it's very important that you understand this chapter and you have enough practice in this chapter. Okay. With that being said, we can officially start the paper. Um, I hope no one has any questions so far, right? Can we all see a thumbs up so we can start? Okay, thank you so much. Um, please keep on interacting with me. If you ever feel like I should repeat something, or maybe I spoke too fast, or maybe I wasn't audible enough, please ask me to repeat, and I'd be more than happy to repeat. Okay. So the first thing is, so the first question says, a quadrilateral has these properties. The diagonals are the only lines of symmetry, and it has a rotational symmetry of order 2. Okay, so let's break down this question. A quadrilateral is basically four-sided shape, right? So that's a square. We have a square, okay? The diagonals are the only lines of symmetry. So what's a line of symmetry? A line of symmetry is basically, if I use this axis, this and this should be reflections of each other. Or in other words, if I were to fold the shape, I should have the exact same shape. It should become something like just this with a double layer. Okay. So that's basically how the line of symmetry works. Now, the problem with the square is, since it says the only lines of symmetry are the diagonals, that means this should not be allowed, but for a square and also for a rectangle, it is allowed. Okay. So this can neither be the square or the rectangle. What else shapes do we have? From the syllabus, I believe you should already have a list. Okay, one other advice I had for you was, go to your syllabus and please read the entire syllabus once. Don't just rely on the textbook's chapter content to know what the syllabus is. In your syllabus, they very specifically tells you about every single chapter and what their expectations are from you for those chapters. So in the syllabus, as far as I remember and as far as I believe, that you had a list of all the shapes whose properties you should know. Okay, so two of those were a parallelogram and a rhombus. They're almost the same thing, but in this one, only two sides are equal. I mean, not all four sides are equal. It's more appropriate to say that. Not all four are equal. And in this one, all four are equal sides. So this would either be this shape, the parallelogram, or this could be a rhombus where all four sides are equal. Okay. In this part, you're going to see that for the only line of symmetry, if I do this is not a line of symmetry. Okay. If you fold the shape, is going to be something like, I believe something like this, okay? And it does not match this, which means the diagonals are not a line of symmetry for a parallelogram. However, for a rhombus, if you happen to know this and you use this one as a line of symmetry and you fold this, you'll get the exact same shape in return. As well as for this side, if you fold this, you'll get the same shape when you fold this, okay? At the same time, if you do this axis, you don't get the same shape. As in, if you do a straight one, you don't get a line of symmetry, do you? Similarly, if you do this side comes to be here, and it does not give you a line of symmetry. So there goes the first one. So far, rhombus just passed this. The second part is it has a rotational symmetry of order 2. Rotational symmetry basically says if you rotate this about 90 degrees as many times as possible, and how many times you get the exact same shape in return. Okay? Are you all with me? So for a rhombus, if you have already memorized the properties, you should know that a rhombus has this rotational symmetry of order 2. So the answer for this, the only four-sided shape that matches all of these properties is a rhombus. There is a table that you should find in your textbook or even in the syllabus. Is provided a list of shapes that whose properties you have to memorize. So rhombus, parallelogram, square shape, square, rectangle, kite, all of those are parts of it. So it's very important that you know these. And it's just a memorizing question, honestly, at that point. So you should know that this answer is rhombus. Are you all with me? Okay, thank you. So the next question says that the diagram shows the net of a solid. A net basically means that if you have a 3D shape and you, for example, you open all the sides up, so you should get something like this. Okay. The best way I can represent this is if you've ever seen the Toblerone chocolate, then you would have noticed the shape looks something like this. If you open the wrapper entirely, it looks something exactly like this. Okay. So if you bring this towards the upper side, this here, and this here, you should have a shape that looks something like, let's see if I can draw this. Something like this, okay? And do you know what the shape is called? It's a triangular prism, right? When I have three sides, it's a prism. And since the base is a triangle, it's a triangular prism. Do you all understand this? Okay, give me just a second. Someone's at the door. I'll just be back in 5 seconds. Okay, just a second. Sorry, my apologies. Okay, the next question says it's a ratio question as far as I can see. The mass of box A is given in a ratio form with box B in the ratio 4:7. Okay, so the mass of box B is 0.24 kg more than the mass of box A, right? That basically means you have box A, which is a specified mass, you have box B, which is another mass, right? So if we were to represent box A mass to be, let's say, X, that means therefore box B mass should be X plus 2.4 kg, right? Let's say this is X kg. Do you all get this? So 2.4 kg more than the mass of box A, right? Okay. The next thing you should know that is that you can always write ratios as a form of fraction. So if I were to compare these, I could write that A over B, basically comparing mass of box A with mass of box B, and this comes out to be 4/7. Any issues with this? Do you all get this? Okay, so this means that A over B, which is 4/7, is equals to X over X plus 2.4. This is basically where we get this. A is X, B, also B here, is X plus 2.4, which is X plus 2.4. Okay? So that's basically how it works. And then all we have to do is just solve this through algebra and then see where we get that. So 7x, basically doing cross multiplication. So 7x equals to 4x plus 2.4. Okay. So 7x is equals to 4x, and you have a calculator, so you can just easily see this. It should be, I believe, it should be 9.6, right? So the next thing you do is 3x is equals to 9.6, and if you use the calculator, you should get x is equals to, I believe this to be 3.2. Okay. So the question asks from you to find box A and box B, and I knew that x was box A, so this is just 3.2. And then for box B, I should have 3.2 plus 2.4, so that is 5.6 kg. So this should be 5.6. Cool. Do you have any issues with this? Okay, wonderful. Please stop me at any point if you want me to repeat something, or if you want me to slow down or anything. Please let me know. Okay. So the next question says, they have given us a trapezium shape. ABCD is a trapezium. Work out the area of the trapezium. I believe you have this formula. Do you have this formula? No, you don't. You should have it. Okay, even if you don't have it, the formula is basically, if you don't know already, it's half a plus b into height. So a trapezium is a shape that has two parallel sides. So it has two parallel sides, as we can see. These are two parallel sides, and it has an area. Sorry, it has a height in between those parallel sides, right? So the formula is half a plus b into h. Okay. So a plus b basically refers to the two parallel sides that we have. So these are the parallel sides. And the height is the distance between A and B. Between A and B. So I can see that A, let's call this A, it's 10, B is 12, and the height between them is 8, as seen here, right? So they've given us all the information already. Half into 10 plus 12 into 8. It's basically just this. And if you plug this into your calculator, you should have 10 plus 12, that is 22. And then 22 over 2, that is 11 into 8 equals to 88. So your answer should be 88 centimeters square. Are you all with me so far? So I assume no one has any questions regarding the trapezium. Okay, wonderful. The next question says, Scott changes $300 into pounds. The exchange rate is £1 is equals to $1.20. Calculate the amount Scott receives. Okay, so this is the important part here. I feel like this is rates of change, or there's a chapter for rates and ratios, right? It's part of those chapter, that chapter specifically. Okay, so the way I want you to do this is you will take this one on the left hand side. Okay, so we've been told that $1.20 is equal to pound one. That means if I were to find what is $1, I would use the unitary method, which basically says this is pound one over 1.20. Any questions with this? This is the most important step here. Are you all okay with this? So the next step should say that if $1 is 1 over 1.2, then $300 or $300 should be this into 300, right? Because I'm multiplying this with 300. So this comes out to be 300 into 1 over 1.20. And if you plug this in the calculator, I think you should have 250, if I'm not wrong. So your answer should be either this or just write the answer of 250 here. Okay? Are you all cool with this? Would anyone like me to repeat this? This is one of the questions a lot of students struggle with because they don't understand how currency exchanges, the calculation for this is set up. So this is the most important step where you just single this out. Since I have to find in terms of dollar and I've been given a rate that is not 1, so I just figured this out. And then whatever the value of dollar is, I just multiply that, both sides with that. Okay? That's the workout. The next question says, a solid wooden cone has base 4 and height 12. So density of the wood is this to calculate the mass of the cone. Perfect. So they've also given us a formula that says density D equals to mass over volume. If you have physics, you should also know this formula from that. Um, the way we solve this math is we have to use the formula of uh, cone. Okay, so since it involves volume, we should have this formula in the table. Let's just see if you have this. You should have this somewhere. Give me a second. Yeah, it's here. You see it? So it's half was 1 over 3 pi r square height. Okay. So volume is equals to 1 by 3 pi r square into height. That's the formula for the volume. Okay. So you can plug this into here. The next thing is the density is also given to be 0.74. The density is given, the volume you can find out, and we have to find the mass. So let's rearrange the equation. Let's use the formula of mass is equals to D, and as in density, into volume. Just rearranging this to make M the subject. Okay. So the next thing we write is the density is given as 0.74. Be very careful of the units. So 0.74 grams. And this says it's grams over centimeter cube, right? So you could either write it this way, or you could also write it this way. And I'm going to get you why we do that, okay? The volume formula says 1 over 3 pi r square. R is given as 4, so 4 centimeter square into the height is given as 12, so 12 centimeter. You can see that if I 4 whole squared this, my centimeter also gets squared, right? So from this, I should get 1 over 3 pi. This is 16 centimeter square into 12 centimeter. Okay. Now I can see that this centimeter square, and this centimeter, they just make centimeter cube, right? So I could write this as 12 into, 16 into 12, and then cm cube. And we can see that this and this could be cut off, right? Because they're both, one is in the numerator and the other one is in the denominator. So 74 grams, and then this is cm cube. This and this gets cancelled out. And we can just solve the rest of the math. So that is 16. Let's just write it here. 16 into 12 into pi over 3 into, there is also into 0.74 here. So that's basically the workout for this math. Okay. If you plug all of these into the calculator, I think you should have something like 148.8. So remember the rule that says always to write the answer in 3 significant figures. So we write the answer as 149. And the answer for this is 149. Any questions? Are you all okay with this? Okay, wonderful. Let's move on to the next question now. I really want you guys to solve it with me, solve it alongside me, so that you can stop me at any point if you're struggling with something. So when you see someone else solving a paper, it seems very easy. But when you start solving it, you have to also test your own ability to understand the questions and use the formula required for this, okay? So as I'm solving the paper, I really want you guys to solve it as well. If you want, I can provide you with the link of the paper so you can get to the paper and start solving it with me, okay? The next question says, let's just erase this. The next question says that y equals to mx plus c. For those of you who know this, it's basically the formula for the straight line equation. Rearrange the formula to make m1 the subject, okay? So they asked us to rearrange the formula to make m, as in this, the subject. So how do you do this? Y is equals to mx plus c. So let's keep this in one side and bring everything else to the other side. So mx is equals to y minus c. And then m is equals to y minus c over x. I'm pretty sure this answer has this written in the mark scheme, OE, which stood for or equivalent, right? So basically, you would have also been allowed to write this answer in terms of m is equals to y over x minus c over x. As you can see, both of these are the exact same things, but written in a different format. So this is what they basically mean by OE, or equivalent. You're going to see this very often in the mark scheme. So your answer is not wrong as long as it gives the correct mathematical equivalence. Okay? So this is y minus c over x. Let's move on to the next question. This question is quite straightforward. You could just easily plug this into the calculator. So take a calculator, write a fraction, gives 2.1 square here, give minus 1.9 here, give 0.5 here. And your answer should be something plus C. Okay. Can you let me know what answer you get from the calculator directly? Can you write it out in the chat box? Yeah? No? Okay. Thank you. So this answer is 5.02, right? I think it's an exact answer. It doesn't even require us to do any rounding or anything. So the answer we write is just 5.02. This is a B1 mark, which basically means independent. Even if I didn't show anything here and I just showed this answer directly, they would have given me the mark for this. Okay, that's basically what a B1 is. It's independent of any method. I don't have to show any workout. I don't have to show any explanation. I can just write the answer directly and they'll give me the mark because it's just to calculate, right? There's no need to show anything or show any answer. So must your under answers is yes, you have to. The paper already says that give non-exact numerical answers. That basically means if your answer is something like 0.53268 and it goes on in a calculator, you have to take it into three significant figures, which is 0.533. Okay? It's non-exact numbers. If your answer is exact, however, you don't have to do this. Does that make sense? So if your answer is 0.7252, let's say this is a direct answer, okay? You can keep it this way. You don't have to turn it into 0.725. Cool. Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on. Where were we? Okay, so we solved this. Solve the simultaneous equations. You must show all your workings. So the reason they say this is because it carries 3 marks for something that is very easy, right? So there are students who use a shortcut who just solve this in their heads and or they experiment with random values. They plug in these values and then they see if the answer matches. You can't do that. Okay, you have to actually solve and you have to show your workings. We know 2 methods. One of those are elimination. The other one is substitution. The other one is graphical method. Okay, the graphical method is the most complicated one. We don't have to work into that. The substitution is also doable in this because I can easily see that I can make this a subject. So y is equals to 11 minus 3w. And then I plug this into here and I solve the equation. Okay. Something else we can do is the elimination method. Let's see. So the purpose of the elimination method is to completely get rid of any one variant or any one variable. Okay. So I have to multiply one of these equations in a way that if I add or subtract later on, I should either be able to get rid of the w's or the y's. Okay. The most simple one I can see is that this 3 and this 1, right? So if I multiply this equation with 3, I would have 2 equations. One of this is 2w minus 3y is equals to 11, the first equation. And the second one, by multiplying this into 3, I would have 9w plus 3y equals to 33. Are you all with me? So right after that, I know that if I have to get rid of these, I can't subtract, I'd have to add, right? Because minus 3 plus 3 equals to 0. So I'd have to add these equations, okay? So there's a decision to be made here. Don't always subtract just because the name says eliminate. By eliminate, they don't mean subtraction. They mean that you have to get rid of one of the variables, okay? So if I do that, I get 11w plus 0y equals to 44. I hope you can all see this, how we got rid of the y. So 11w is equals to 44 and w is equals to 44 over 11, which is just 4. Okay. So now I can take this w and plug it anywhere. Let's plug this into the first equation, let's say. Okay. So let's plug this. Oh, I have to show this. So let's plug this into the first equation. So I get 2w minus 3y equals to 11. So instead of the w, let's write 4. What we get is 8 minus 3y equals to 11. That means minus 3y is equals to 11 minus 8, which is just 3. And then y is equals to minus 1. Any questions? W equals to 4, y equals to minus 1. Quite straightforward, right? Okay. I know a few of you might think that I'm wasting too much time in basics, but we also have to be understanding of our peers that some of us might be struggling in the easy chapters as well, and it's not easy for everyone. Okay, so which is why I'm trying to ask you every single time whether all of you are okay with this. So I hope you are also understanding of that, and we can finish the paper in time. Okay, next question. So a group of 12 adults and 9 children travel on a bus. You will see questions like this very often. The hardest part in this is just to form the equation. Okay. So equation forming. You have to be able to understand what variables to use and how to form the final equation. So let's read the question very carefully. So we have 12 adults and we have 9 children. Okay. The cost of an adult ticket is N, $N. So each adult, if I have to get on the bus, I have to pay $N. Okay. The cost of a child's ticket is N minus 1, N minus 10. So the cost for the child's ticket is simply whatever I had to pay for the adult ticket and a $10 discount on that. Okay. The total cost of the tickets is 277.5. So the scenario is basically I have 12 adults who paid $N. I have 9 children who paid N minus $10. And in total, all 21 of them paid a total of 277.5. So the way we write this is 12 adults paid $N plus 9 children paid N minus $10. And in total, their sum of tickets was 277.50. Are you all okay with this? This is where we have M1, I believe. Okay. So this M1 should be just for writing this step. Even if I have not finished this math, let's say I don't know how to open a bracket or I don't know how to find the value of N, even if I just wrote this, I already get 1 out of 3 marks. Okay. So let's see what else we can do. So the next step we should do is just to open the bracket. So that is 12N plus 9N minus 90 is equal to 277.50. Let's group and collect. So 12N plus 9N, that is 21N, is equals to 277.50 minus plus 90, right? I believe this is where the second M is. So for writing this equation, where we have the knowledge that after this equation forming, we have to make N the subject. For writing this, I get the second mark of this question. So even if I have not solved for the answer of N, or I have not written the value of N, I still get this mark. I get 2 marks already, okay? Lastly, for solving this math, so that's 277, let's just write this as 367. So 367.50 over 21. Just for writing this, I get, or the answer that I get, which I believe is 27.8. Please check and let me know if this is wrong. So for writing this, I get a third mark. Okay. So just for my workouts, I get 2 marks. And for the answer, I get a third mark. Now, this is where, even if the mark says B1 or let's say A1, I will not get this answer unless I write these steps or these steps. Okay. So the workout is mandatory on getting the answer. Am I clear? Do you all understand this? Okay, lovely. So let's move on. No, the answer is 17.5. Okay, my bad. Wait, really? Just a second. Let me just check. So 367. 367.5 over 21. That is 17.5. You're right. Not a good day for mental maths. 17.5. Okay. A way to check this answer is by plugging this value back into these, okay? Or here, let's say. So if the price of a ticket is 17.5, that means the adults pay 17.5. The children should pay 7.5. Am I right? Because the question says the adults pay N and the children pay N minus 10. So 12 into 17.5, 12 into 17.5 plus, let's say the children were 9, 9 into 7.5, and the answer I get is 277.5. Do you get how I check my answer? Okay. So please, for these questions where the method for checking the answer is very clear, just check it, take 5 extra seconds, plug this into your calculator, and you see if your answer is correct. Okay. Moving on. In a sale, the original price of a shirt is reduced by 15%. Okay. So I want you to learn something very important. I believe a few of you might already know this, but if you don't, just memorize this entirely. Okay. So whenever something gets reduced, we can consider the original price to be, let's say, 1x. Okay, this is the original price. And if it gets reduced by something, we can make this 0.85x. Okay, that's basically saying 0.15x got reduced from it. Similarly, if I were to say it had a 20% increase, that's basically saying it's a 120% of the original value now, right? Or in other words, it's basically just 1.2x of the original value. Are you all with me? Do you all understand this? Are you sure? So let me just give you a couple of more examples in case you don't understand this. For example, if the question say that it got increased by 10%, if it's an increase by 10%, just the memorizing, I can say it's 1.1x. Okay. If it's a decrease by 10%, then it's 0.9x. And the original one is always 1x. Okay? Wonderful. So the question says that the price got decreased by 15%, and the same price of the t-shirt or the shirt is now 23.63. So the sale price basically means the new price, right? So I'm going to show you multiple ways of writing this exact answer. The first one is the one that I suggest, is the easiest one. Is 0.85, x is equals to 23.63. And then if you simply just find for x, 23.63 over 0.85, you should have the answer. Okay? The second method is using another formula that imagine my initial value was x, and the way we denote this is basically 15 over 100 into x, right? That's basically 15% of x. So from my original price, I had a reduction of 15 over 100 x, and I got the new value to be 23.63. Okay? This is the second formula. The third formula is 100 minus 15. Let's say 100% minus 15% is equals to 85%. So the way we write 85% is basically 85 over 100 into x, right? Because 85% of x. So 85% of x is the same thing as 23.63. Now, you might be able to tell that all three of these, sorry, this, and this, they're the exact same thing, okay? A lot of you prefer a certain way, just stick to that way. But there's multiples of writing this. There's multiple ways of doing this. So don't worry if the mark scheme doesn't exactly match the format that you're using. Okay? So since this also carries 2 marks, there is M1 for just writing the step. So whichever step you chose, you get 1 mark as long as it's a valid step. And you get the second answer, you get a second mark for writing the answer. Okay? So can anyone determine the answer of this? It's just 23.63 divided by 0.85, right? Yeah. Are you all cool with this? Any issues with this at all? Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to the next question. The length of a rectangle is 16 centimeters, correct to the nearest centimeter. The width is 14, correct to the nearest centimeter. Calculate the lower bound. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what a lower bound is, a lower bound is basically, since this question tells me that it's correct to the nearest centimeter, that means when I write that it's, let's say 10 centimeters, correct to nearest centimeter, this could be either of one thing, of two things. Sorry, this could be either of two things. One is that my value was something like 9.6 or 9.7, and I rounded this to be 10. Or secondly, this would be something like 10.3 or 10.4, and I rounded this down to 10, right? Both of these, when I write to the correct nearest centimeter, I get the same answer, even though this 9.6 and this 10.4, they're very different. It's basically the concept of rounding, but in opposite. The question rounds it for us, and now we have to work with all the possible values of this. Okay? So for this one, the access will work with the lower bound. I'm going to show you both the upper bound and the lower bound to know how to do this. Okay? So whenever they give you a metric, you just half it. Okay? So since they said 1 centimeter near a centimeter, you have this and you get 0.5 centimeter. Okay? So for the upper bound, you add. For the lower bound, you subtract. Okay? So when I have 16, let's start with for length. When I have 16 centimeter, the upper bound has to be 16 plus 0.5. Where did I get the 0.5? From here. Okay? Whatever they give you, just have that. So that is the upper bound, and I get 16.5. For the lower bound, I get 16 minus 0.5, which is 15.5. For the width, I have 14 centimeters from the question. For the upper bound, it's basically 14 plus 0.5, which is 14.5. For the lower bound, I have 14 minus 0.5, which is 13.5. Are you all with me? Okay. Now the question says that calculate the lower bound of the perimeter of the rectangle. So we know our rectangle looks like this, where this side and this side are equal, this side and this side are equal, which means the perimeter is 2 length plus 2 width, right? So for the lower bound of the perimeter, I'm supposed to use both the lower bounds of the lengths and the widths. So that should be 2 into 15.5 plus 2 into 13.5. So from here, I should get 31. From here, I should get 27. And the answer should be 58. Are you all cool with this? Is there anyone here who does not know how upper bounds and lower bounds work? I remember back in my year when I was giving the exam, a lot of my friends, they went into the exam hall without ever hearing these words before. They've never heard the words upper bound or lower bound before. And after the exam, they were like, oh, what's upper bound? I've never heard of this before. So there's that. So it's very easy. It's one of those questions where you just get 3 marks as long as you remember the concept. Okay? You have the number given here. So I had 1 centimeter. I have it to get 0.5. And then you simply just add 0.5 or you subtract 0.5. Okay? Let's move on. So the next question is another one where a lot of students don't expect this type of question because they haven't practiced enough. But if you practice this enough, you'll see that this comes in almost every single paper. It's for the similar and congruent chapter. Okay, so there can be similar triangles and there can be congruent triangles. Okay, take just a moment to read the question, and then we can start. We can start the question. So let's start. We have 2 triangles. One is ABC. The other one is PQR. The question already tells me that they're similar. So I don't have to prove whether they're similar or not. The question just tells me, okay? When I say that 2 triangles are mathematically similar, this means 2 things. Number one, the ratio of their sides is equal. That basically means the ratio between this side and this side should be the same as this side divided by this side. Okay. The second thing is that their angles are all same. Okay. So this and this angle are same. This and this angle are same. This and this angle are same. These are the 2 properties you have to know and you have to understand when you sit for the exam, that in similar triangles, they have the same ratios and the same angles. Okay, let's move on. Calculate the length of PR. So PR is this side and the equivalent in the largest triangle is this one, right? So I've just used this one. I've just mentioned this one, that the ratio of their sides is equal. That means if I compare my PR over AC, if I compare this side with this side, the ratio that I get should be the same as any other two sides that I know of. So I know this side and I know this side, right? So it should be equal to PQ over AB, right? Are you all with me? So we are doing smaller circle divided by larger circle. Sorry, smaller triangle over the larger triangle. So the PQ that I already know is 6. So this is 6. And the AB that I already know is 9. So you can tell this is 2 by 3. And then from PR, I don't know PR. That's basically what the question wants me to find out. I know AC though. So AC is equals to 12, right? So this is equals to PR over 12. So now I can just take my 12 to the other side. I get 2 over 3 equals to PR. Any questions? Yeah? So my answer should be 8 centimeters, right? I hope you all get this. You just compare the sides and you should get the answer for any one side that is not given already. Okay? So I hope you can move on. The next question says the triangle ABC and triangle PQR are cross sections of two prisms. So that's basically one of these ones that we solved earlier. Where is it? It's this shape. This is a prism, right? They're basically saying that the triangles are for two different prisms where this is a cross section, as in the base or something. Okay. So let's see how to solve this. The prisms are mathematically similar. So they again mention that these 3D shapes are also mathematically similar, and the volume of the smaller prism is 1120. So that's the information we have to use. So in this question, we are going to use another property, which is for the volumes. If you compare the two volumes, and let's say the bigger minus the smaller, so let's name this volume 2 and this volume 1. Okay, so V2 over V1, basically comparing the volume of the bigger triangle over the volume of the smaller triangle. This is equal to what do we have? We have sides, right? This has to be equal to the ratio of their sides whole cubed. Does that make sense? So let's say the sides we already have been given is for V2, let's pick this side, and for V1, let's pick this side. So this is 9 over 6. Are you all with me? So if you compare the volumes of the two triangles, it should be equal to the ratio of their sides whole cubed. Okay, I'll give you one more formula just so you remember this. This is for a 3D shape. Let's say we were comparing the triangles areas. Okay, so for the areas, A2 over A1 is equal to, let's say, a side of the triangle 2 over a side of triangle 1 whole squared. Okay, so in this case, the side 2 would have been 9, larger triangle, and the side 1 would have been the smaller triangles, 6. So if they were asking us to compare the areas, this is the formula we would have used. If they're asking us to compare the volumes, we are going to use this formula. And the only difference between these formulas is in this power. Okay, so for areas, it's square because I know the answer of areas are in centimeter square. And for volume, it's cube because the answers are always in centimeter cube. Okay, so let's do this. I believe 9 over 6 is, let's just use the calculator. 9 over 6 cube is going to give me 27 over 8. And this is the same as volume of the second one over this volume that we've been given already, which is 1120, right? So volume 2 is equal to 1120 into 27 over 8. Are you all with me? Does anyone have any issues with this formula? So the answer should come out to be 3780. And I can see that since my second shape is larger, I should definitely have a volume that is way larger than my first shape. Okay? That's basically how we solve this answer. Okay, wonderful. Let's move to the next question. Wait, I skipped the question. Yeah. Factorize fx minus, very easy. One of the easiest questions in the whole paper, I believe. If you just take 5 as common, you can take x minus 2. And then since it involves a minus, I'm also going to take a minus here. And then for this part, I have to take a as common. So if I take a here, I get x minus 2. and this comes out to be 5 minus a and x minus 2. That is basically the answer. Okay, just write this here. Let's bring this to the other side. This is the answer. Okay, can we all move on? I think we've solved half of the paper, and I hope all of you are with me so far and you have not had any problems. If I'm going too fast, please let me know that you would like the explanation of any specific question, or you'd like me to slow down a bit, or you'd like me to repeat something. Or if I'm going too slow, please let me know that as well. Okay. We now move on to the interior angle of a regular polygon. So we know that this involves the formula. If you have gone to the syllabus, you should know this formula. This is from the chapter of, I think, shapes of regular polygons. There has to be a chapter along these lines. I forgot the exact wording of the chapter, but in your textbook, you should have a chapter like this. So the interior angle they're telling us is 172. Okay. Now the question they are asking from us is to find the number of sides of this polygon. So the formula that you should know and use is that interior angle of any polygon, so of any regular polygon. By regular, we mean that every single side is equals length. Okay, of any regular polygon, this should be equal to n minus 2 over n, and this gets multiplied with 180. Are you all with me? So the question already tells me that the interior angle is 172, which means this is equal to 172. Yes?
Isn't the interior angle also equal to 180 minus 360 over n?
180 minus 360 over n. Sorry, give me a second. Can you repeat the formula?
180 degrees
Yeah.
minus 360 over n.
Yes?
No, only the 360 over n.
Oh. I think so. Yeah, you're right. You're right. If you do this, you should also get the exact same answer. Okay? Thank you. Please ask me the questions. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions or you'd like me to clarify something, please let me know. Okay? So this should also give you the same answer. This is also another form of the answer. Okay? So another form of the formula. So you can use any formula you want. As long as it's mathematically correct, you will get the correct answer, and you will also get the M1 mark attached with it. Okay? So there's multiple ways of solving each math. Don't worry about it. So from this, or even if you use this, we just have to put this equals to 172 because this is already given in the question. Sorry. So n minus 2 over n is equal to 172 over 180. And then we can just simply bring this into this side, right? So, and then this 180 to this side. And if you equate all the sides, our final, let me just solve it for you. No worries. So n minus 2 over n equals to into 180 is equals to 172. And then n minus, I really have to use some more space, over n is equals to 172 over 180. And then if I bring n to this side, I can also bring this 180 to this side. So I get 180n minus 172n equals to, I think, did we mess up anywhere? This is 180.
Equal
Sorry.
to 360.
Yeah. My bad. Okay, so we just go back to your formula, right? So this is 360, and then we have 8n equals to 360, and n is equals to, I believe this will be 45. So if you use this directly, you'd have also gotten the exact same answer. You can see from some workouts that this format and this format is basically the same thing, right? So that's why we have multiple variations of the same formula. So n is equals to 45 sides. Okay, that's the answer. Any questions? Would anyone like me to check anything? Okay, thank you so much. Let's move on to the next one. The next question is of probability. On any day, the probability that the weather will be sunny is 0.7. Find the probability that on any day the weather will not be sunny. So we know that the probability, the sum of all types of probabilities should be 1, right? If there are multiple types of scenarios for any event, the sum of all of their probabilities should always be 1. That means if I am to find just P of not sunny, this should be 1 minus 0.7, which is just 0.3. A very simple answer. And even if you didn't write this, you just get B1 for this. Do you remember what B1 is? Can someone mention what this B stood for? Independent, right? I hope you remember this. This B stood for independent. So you don't have to show any method for this. There are some things that are just expected from the students that is very common knowledge, and you don't have to really prove anything in this. Okay, so you get 1 mark for this. When the weather is sunny, the probability that Rohit goes for a walk is 0.9. Okay, so when the weather is not sunny, the probability that Rohit goes for a walk is 0.2. So if it is sunny, then he goes for a walk, and the probability of that is 0.9. If it is not sunny, that the probability that he goes for a walk is 0.2. So there are 2 scenarios here, right? So we have to find all the ways that he goes for a walk. So it could either be that it's sunny and he goes for a walk, or it's not sunny and he goes for a walk. So let's write this: P of sunny and walk plus P of not sunny. So there's a way of writing this. I don't know if you knew this. We just write sunny here and we give a hat here. That's basically representing that it's not sunny, okay? Or an easier way of writing this would have just saying that S equals to sunny and then W equals to walk. So, and walk. This is one way of writing this equation. The other way would have been P of S and W plus P of not S and W. Are you all with me? You will do much more difficult probability maths in AS. So IGCSE is really a brace for probability. It's not that hard, as long as you can remember the basic types of formulas. Okay. So the way we solve this is by multiplying the events. So we have 2 events here. The first part is that it's sunny, and the second part is that he goes for a walk. So when it's sunny, and the probability of it being sunny is 0.7, right? So the first one should be 0.7 into 0.9. Are you all with me? Because the probability of it being sunny is 0.7. The probability of him going to a walk is 0.9. So the probability of sunny and walking has to be 0.7 into 0.9. Similarly, now I have to find for the 2 separate ones. So when it's not sunny, we just found this, that the probability of it not being sunny is 0.3. So this is 0.3 into probability of going to a walk was 0.2 as given in the question here, right? When it's not sunny, the probability is 0.2. So we have to equate this now. I believe this is 0.63. I believe this is 0.06. And if you add these, you should get 0.69. Okay? So the final answer should be 0.69. I believe you get 1 mark for writing this. You get 1 mark for plugging these values in. And you get a 3rd mark for writing this answer. That is how the mark is distributed. The reason I'm emphasizing so much in the marks is because a lot of students, they often think that they're going to get away with without writing some steps, because it's very easy, it's very self-explanatory. So I don't have to write any workout, but these are where you might lose the marks. If you don't write this, you might lose this mark. Okay? Sorry. So let's move on. So if you use a spider diagram, solve this, we'll get all the marks. So a spider diagram is also known as a tree diagram, right? In AS, you're going to learn this in more details, the tree diagram. You will get the marks, but even in the tree diagram, you will notice that eventually you have to reach this step, right? So let's discover what you're saying. So if this is sunny and this is not sunny, the probability of it being sunny is 0.7. The probability of this being not sunny is 0.3, right? Similarly, this next part is the walk. If it's sunny and walk, this is 0.9. Not walk is 0.1. And if it's not sunny, then the probability was 0.2. So walk is 0.2 and not what is 0.8, right? So let's say I had drawn this diagram, and then I have to reach this step, right? To find all the ways of reaching W, I would have to choose this path and this path. So my next step should have to be 0.7 into 0.9 plus 0.3 into 0.2, right? So ultimately, as long as I write this line, I will get the marks for this. Is that clear? Okay. Thank you so much for asking your questions. Please keep on asking me questions. I promise you I'm going to be nice about it. I'm not going to judge you or anything. Okay, I promise you this. So let's move on. The next question says that Alex invests $400 at a rate of 2.3% per year, per year simple interest. Okay. So the formula for simple interest, as we recall, is PRT. Okay. And this R is represented as R over 100. Right? Do we all know this? Okay. So there's two ways of doing this. I'm going to show you the more complicated way first, and then I'm going to show you the simpler way first. Okay. The complicated way requires less workout. The simpler way requires more workout. As simple as that. Okay. So the complicated way is to use the formula for the total amount directly. So the question basically says that I have $400. I'm investing this, and I'm going to get 2.3% in return every single year. Now, they don't want to find out how much I've profited. They basically want to find out what is my total net worth after those 5 years. Does that make sense? So the complicated way and the direct way of finding the answer is using this formula. Amount is equals to principal into 1 plus RT, so that is rate into time. Okay? Or in other words, A is equals to P 1 plus RT. That's basically the formula. Okay. So this will give me the direct amount. This will give me the amount directly without having to work out or without having to add anything in the later stages. So let's try. The principal is 400. Is basically the starting point. This one is the starting point, and then I have 1 plus the rate is 2.3, but I have to write this in this term 2.3 over 100. I hope you all know this. And the next thing is the time. So the time is 5 years. Time will always be in terms of years. If it's given as 11, what you do is 11 over 12. You always have to write this in terms of months or in years, okay? Never write in terms of months. So if this question, instead of years, if this question suppose gave you, let's say 7 months, you still have to write this as a year. And the way you write this is 7 over 12. That is the year, okay? I hope you know this. Let's move on. So if you plug this into the calculator, I believe your answer should be 446. So this is a complicated, more advanced formula for finding the amount directly. So the answer is 446 directly, okay? The simpler way is just to use the formula that we've been learning since childhood, PRT over 100. This gives me the amount that I'm profiting after 5 years. So let's see. Principal is 400, rate is 2.3 over 100, and time is 5. So if I plug this into the calculator, I should get 46. Can you please check and let me know if you get 46 as well? I got this with this and this. 4 into 5 is 20. 20 into 2.3 is 46. Okay. So I hope you all get the same value of 46. And this 46 is basically the profit I've made after the 5 years. But I've started off with investing 400. That basically means I have $46 added to my $400, right? So now I do 400 plus 46, and I get the same answer, 446. Okay? 2 methods of solving this answer. Are you all with me? Is there anyone who would like me to repeat this? Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. The next question says, Virat has $100 to spend. In February, he spends X dollars. Okay, so this is the first variable that we have. In March, he spends 10% more than he spends in February. Can you recall from a couple of questions back of how I explained this to you, how to write this 10% increase? It's 1.1x, right? Do you all remember this? Okay, so whenever I have this, it's x. If 10% is increasing, this makes it 1.1. 1x, right? Whatever the newer value is, multiply that with whatever the amount is, multiply that with 1.1 to get a 10% increase. Okay. In April, he spends 10% more than he spends in March. So it's no longer 1.1x, rather, it's increasing 10% from here. So whatever the old value is, we multiply 1.1 with that, right? So this basically becomes 1.1 into the March value, which is also 1.1. Does that make sense? Are you all okay with this? This is 1.21x. Okay. So in February, I had x. In March, I spent 1.1x. In April, I spent 1.21x. Are you all with me before I proceed with the math? Okay, thank you so much for interacting. Now, the question says at the end of April, I have this much remaining. So another way of looking at this is, let's say I had $100, and at the end of the month, I have 20 remaining. So if I say that I spent 20, am I right? I'm not, right? Because I actually spent 80, which is missing here. So the difference between my starting and my ending is actually what I spent, right? This is my spent. So similarly, he started off with 100 and he has 33.8 remaining. A very common mistake in this paper was a lot of students were in a rush and they didn't read this properly. They just assumed that these three values, they're equal to 33.8. He spent 33.8. He did not spend 33.8. He had 33.8 remaining. That means he actually spent 100 minus 33.8 is equals to 66.2, if I'm not wrong. This is actually what he spent. Are you all with me? Okay, thank you so much. So this basically means in February, March, and April, he spent a total of 66.2. So X, which is February, plus, let's write them down, February, then there's a March here, and there's an April here, okay? So in February, he spent X. In March, he spent 1.1x. In April, he spent 1.21x. 1.1x plus 1.21x. These are all equal to 66.2, right? So this makes it 3.21x is equals to 66.2. Yeah? So, sorry, wait, I think I'm putting this wrong. This is 3.31 because 2 plus 1, right? Okay. With that being said, all I have to do is just find the x because the question only asks for x. The question does not ask me to find how much I spent in March and April. So just for x, my answer has to be 66.2 over 3.31. And I think my answer should be 20 if I'm not wrong. Okay. So my x is $20. Are y'all with me? Now let's say a student was extra try hard, and instead of just writing for x, they also wanted to find each of these months individually. Okay, so they wrote for March equals to 1.1x is equals to 1.1 into 20 equals to 25. Okay, this is clearly wrong. The answer is supposed to be 22, but they had written 25. Okay, so this is where the mark scheme's ISW comes in play. ISW was ignore subsequent working. The moment in time I got this answer, they will ignore all of this. They won't even look at this, okay? Obviously, they're going to look at it, but they can't mark this. Even if this answer was right, you don't get extra marks. Even if you get this answer wrong, your marks will not be cut. So just don't bother. Read the question, see exactly what the question is asking from you, and write only up till that point, okay? Let's proceed. Bobby invests $500 in an account that pays compound interest per year. So compound interest is something that we have not learned since childhood. I think compound interest is something that gets introduced to us in either like grade 8 or in IGCSE directly. Okay, so the formula for compound interest is P 1 plus R to the power T. Okay, so let's see. He invests 500, so our principal is 500 in an account that pays compound interest each year, so yearly. At the end of 17 years, so our time is 17 years, the value of Bobby's investment is 700.13. Again, this is the formula. So amount is equal to P 1 plus R over T, where the amount is now 700.13. So the question asks from me to find what the investment is at the end of 20 years. So out first I have to see what my rate was, because if you notice the question tells me the starting value, the question tells me the new value that I have, the question gives me an amount of time, but it does not specify at what rate my amount is getting compoundly interested, right? Are you all with me? So I have to first find the value of R, and then I have to find how much I get in 20 years. So there's two parts to this question, which is why I think it has 4 marks. Yeah, I'm really sorry. So this is that. The P is 500. This is a plain one. The rate is what I have to find out. And the time has been given as 17 years. Are you all with me? So the next step I have to do is let's try to isolate the R as much as we can. So let's take 500 to the other side. So this is 700.13 over 500 equals to 1 plus R 17. I believe we can use a decimal for this, or we can just factorize this somehow. And if you put this into the calculator, I think you should be getting something like 1.02, if I'm not wrong, equals to 1 plus R 17. Okay. Now, here is where an indices concept comes in play. The indices concept basically says if you want to get rid of this power, I have to make the power into 1. How do we go from 17 to 1? Divided by 17, right? So I have to introduce a power to both sides, basically, like this and this. Do any of you have any questions with this? I'm sorry, I made a mistake here. My bad. I should have done this in the earlier step. This was 1 over 17, and this was 1 over 17. I got lost. Yeah. So do any of you have a question with that? Whenever I want to get rid of a power, what I have to do is I have to multiply with a power that makes the entire thing 1. Because I know anything to the power 1 is the same thing, right? So I have to multiply this, and I have to multiply this with power 1 over 17. Now, this thing just comes out to be 1, right? So my very next step is just to write a plus 1 as 1, okay? And the next part for this, if you plug this into the calculator with this, your answer should be 1.02, I think 00 something, okay? Are you all with me? Okay, thank you so much. The next thing we do is we remember that our R is always written as R over 100, right? Because it's a percentage you're going to find out. So let's see. So 1.02 equals to 1 plus R over 100. It is supposed to be R over 100, okay? So now we can just isolate this and we can take this to the other side. So 1.02 minus 1 is equals to R over 100. And what we get is 0.02, if I'm not wrong, is equals to R over 100. And therefore, my R is equals to 2%. Are you all with me? Okay, lovely. So the question does not really ask for me what the rate is. The question wanted to find out what happens to the new amount after 20 years. So let's use the same formula once again. So A equals to P 1 plus R over T. And now we have to find the A, where the principal is still 500, the old one. It's 1 plus the 2% we just found out. So that is 2 over 100. And then the time comes out to be 20 years here, right? So 20. Okay. Take 2 seconds. And if anyone wants to ask me any questions regarding how we came up to this equation, please ask me that. Because our math is already over here. We just plug this into the calculator and we get a final answer. Are you all with me? No questions? Are you all sure? Okay, thank you so much. With that being said, I think if you plug this into the calculator, you should have something over the lines of 742.97. Okay, so you can round this and you can just write 743. Okay. Okay, thank you. So let's move on to the next question. Okay, this is one of the chapters that are considered a bit advanced in the syllabus because not all the chapters are obviously treated equally. So this is one of the ones that students often find a bit more difficult, on the difficult side. Okay, so let's see. We have been given a shape, and this tell us that A, B, C, D, E lies on a circle. So A, B, C, D, E, they are in a circle. Find the values of X, Y, and Z. Do you know what this shape is called? It's fine even if you don't. Do you happen to know what shapes inside a circle is called? If I say it's a cyclic shape polygon, am I wrong? Exactly, cyclic quad. You are right, but the quadrilaterals are usually referred to as four-sided. Okay, so this would be a cyclic quadrilateral. Even this would be a cyclic quadrilateral. So you're not wrong entirely. Okay, you're right. So we could call this a cyclic polygon, or we could separate these and we could call this cyclic quadrilaterals, right? Are you with me? Okay, lovely. Thank you so much. So the next thing we have to find out is the values individually. Okay, so let's look at this a bit zoomed in. I can already see that Z is probably going to be a bit hard because Z has nothing corresponding to it that we can directly use to find the value of Z, right? Similarly, Y is also a bit isolated. It does not have anything added to it in a way to find this directly. So let's see. Let's start with the easiest one to have a starting point. I can easily see my X is a part of a triangle, right? X is a part of this triangle, and it's very easy to determine the value of X. So I can just write X is equals to 180 minus 26 minus 125. And then in a bracket, I just give a small explanation that sum of all angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. Do you all see it? There's a triangle here, and X is a part of a triangle, so that means it has to be a part of 180 degree, right? So this value comes out to be, if I'm not wrong, 26 and 125, that is 151. So this should be 29 degrees. Okay, so X is 29. Right off the bat, we have a very easy value here. The second and third ones are where you have to use circle theorem, and you have to understand that there are some rules that we have to follow. The first thing we notice is the easiest way to find Y is that the Y comes from this arc of AB. Not arc actually, it's called chord, right? Are you all with me? Okay. So when I have this, there's one other angle which comes from the same chord, and that is this angle, right? In your circle theorem, there should be a rule that angles subtended from the same chord are equal. So since AB is a chord and AB has given me one value of 52, that means anywhere else in the entire circle, if this AB has given any other angles, it should also be equal to 52. Are you with me? So let's say if I had this shape, this would also be 52 because it started from A and B. Okay. So we have our second answer as well. This is 52. So Y is equal to 52 degrees. And we write the rule angles subtended basically formed from the same chord. Angles subtended from the same chord are equal. You're absolutely right, but let's just see how it comes out to be. So for Z, now I can see that it does not necessarily come from any chord that gives me any other angles or degrees, right? So I have to use some other concept now. The concept is, let's try to see whether this Z is part of any other cyclic quadrilateral, right? So let's erase this. I can see that this is one quadrilateral where angle Z is formed. This is another quadrilateral where angle Z is formed. Let's just see. Okay, so let's do the second one. For cyclic quadrilaterals, there happens to be a rule that says that angles opposite on a cyclic quadrilateral are equal. Okay, angle opposite in a cyclic quadrilateral are equal. So that means this angle.
Sorry, it's not.
Sorry,
It's not.
Yeah,
It's
it's 180. It's 180. My bad. Sorry, I've
yeah.
been speaking for a very
Yeah.
long time, so I'm getting a bit jumbled up. Yeah, the angles on the opposite of a cyclic quadrilateral are equal to 180 degree, right? My apologies. So basically, this angle and this angle, if we add this, we should have 180 degrees. The moment in time you opened your Mac, I realized I might have said something wrong. I'm sorry, I zoned it for a second, okay? So this A plus this Z is equals to 180. Are we all okay with this? Do we all know this rule? Yeah? Okay, thank you so much. So angle A plus angle Z is equal to 180 degree. Why? Because opposite in cyclic quadrilaterals. So quadrilaterals. Okay, now let's try to find angle A. There's multiple ways of finding angle A, but there's two easy ways. One easy way is just using this triangle, because I know this is 125, so this has to be the rest of the straight line. The other one is using, yeah, thank you so much. So the other one is this one, right? This is a triangle as well. This is one side. This is one side. This has to be the other side. Are you all with me? So I know x and y. Let's just see my values. My x is 29. X 29. My y is 52. So this is 52. So my angle A should be 180 minus 52 minus 29 minus 26. Any issues with this? Okay, thank you so much. So this should give me, I think, what does this give me? 107? Yeah. Okay, so this gives me 107 degrees. And then that means that this angle and this angle, if I add these two angles, I should get the value of equal to 180, right? So let's see. Let me just replace that. 107 degrees plus Z is
So it
equals to
equals
180.
73 degrees, not 107 degrees angle A.
A equals to 107. Are you sure? Sorry,
No,
A equals
A is
73?
73 degrees.
Oh,
Yeah, I could put it into the calculator.
yeah. Okay. So A is equals to 73 degrees. Oh, this part is 107. Oh, my bad. So when we plug this in, 73, we get Z to be 107, right? Are you all with me? Take 20 seconds, look at the diagram, and ask me any questions if you have it, okay? 125 minus 180. Then, sorry, could you please repeat that? I didn't understand your question. Yeah? Which one could you please specify once again? Oh, I fixed it. Yeah, I fixed this one. I fixed it. Sorry. Any issue still? Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry, I've been speaking for a very long time. That's why I'm a bit jumbled up. But yeah, so I hope no one else has any questions. Thank you so much for correcting me and for addressing your concerns. Do any of you require any other explanations? So let's just write the answers once. So y equals to 52 and z is equals to 107 degrees. Yeah? Okay. So the next question says, I think it's a composite function question or just a functions question. So the first question says to find f minus 3. This basically means that the equation of x that I have for fx, I'm just going to plug in minus 3 here, right? So f minus 3 is equals to minus 3 plus 1 is equals to minus 2. A very simple question, right? Even if I'm not sure if this had any method marks, but it's still better to just show the entire workout, just so you can show that you understand what this inputting means. Okay? The next question says the domain of gx is minus 3, 0, 2. So a lot of students have a conception that the domains can only be in terms of whole sets of values. Okay, it's not always that. A domain can also have just some specified accepted number of values. Okay, so in this case, the gx only has 3 accepted values of x. As I can see in this equation, it's a straight line graph. So it doesn't necessarily have any requirements that if I had input this value of x, my function becomes invalid or anything. It does not have any such rule. However, the question is still defining the domain for me and telling me that I'm only allowed to use these 3 values of x as my domain. That is when the question itself limits the domain for you. Okay. Now, to find the range of g, all I have to do is input each of these values into g and find the corresponding y values. Okay. So let's just do that. It's very easy. G minus 3. This comes out to be 5 minus 2 minus 3. We'll find the values all together. Let's see. G of 0, that has to be 5 minus 2 into 0. And then G of 2, that has to be 5 minus 2 into 2. Right? Are you all okay with this? This comes out to be 5 minus 2 minus, that is 5 plus 6, that is 11. This comes out to be 5. And this comes out to be 1. Are you all with me? So the range should be written in the same format as this. It's 11, comma 5, comma 1, and you close the bracket. And oh, you also have curly brackets here. So you just write 11, 5, and 1. Are we all okay with this? Thank you so much. Let's move on. So I have been given hx here. And the question says hx, find x when hx is equals to 1 over 32. Very simple, a very specified way. And here's something that you should know for both paper 2 and paper 4 as well. It's the common indices of 2 and 3. Okay, so basically know all the values of this: 2 to the power 2, to the power 3, to the power 4, to the power 5, to the power 6. Sorry, 6. And I think up to this should be okay. So these are the very easy ones. We already know all of these. This is where the students start not knowing the answers. Okay, so to the power 5 is 32, to the power 6 is 64, to the power 7 is 128. Do any of you happen to be a computer science student as well? Are you giving IGCSE computer science? Any of you by any chance? Okay, it's fine if you don't. This is also something that is very common in that in that subject. Okay, not necessarily needed here. I'm just saying. So whenever you say 32 or 1 over 32, basically it refers to this. I would have to use this somehow. Okay, let's see. So find x when 1 over 32, right? So hx was 2x to the power x, right? So to the power x is equals to 1 over 32. And like I just say, this means 2 to the power 5, right? So 1 over 2 to the power 5, something like this. Another way of writing this is just saying that 2 minus 5, right? Are you all with me? Whenever I have a negative sign in my power, it just makes the whole number go to the denominator, right? Yes? So 2 to the power x is equal to 2 to the power minus 5, right? There's a rule that if am is equals to an, therefore m is equals to n. This is an indices rule, right? If this is equal, then m and n are equal, and we can get rid of the bases. So this has to be just a plain simple x is equals to minus 5. So my answer is just minus 5. Okay. Last question says, okay, so here's something I want to teach you, and I feel like it's gonna help you a big time if you're ever going to study A levels maths, or in the future as well if you're gonna study maths in university and for further studies. Okay, so I don't know if the textbook really teaches you this. I have not seen a lot of students using this method, but it's very useful. Okay, so this question now uses the concept of inverses. Okay, so the property we can use when they ask us to find x when inverse equals to something something is, we should know this property of inverse functions. Basically, if I have fx and if I have f inverse x, right? We know in composite functions we can do this. We also know in composite functions we can do this, right? These are all very common things. Something that we can also do in a composite function is inputting this into this or inputting this into this. Basically saying something like this or something like this. Are you all with me so far? We are allowed to do these, right? This is equal to x. This is equals to x. Okay? Regardless of what the fx function is, even if it's a trigonometric function, if it's a straight line equation, if it's a quadratic equation, cubic equation, doesn't matter. As long as it has an inverse, you can use this property. We can use this property as well. Okay? So let's try seeing that. I've been told that my hx is equals to 2 to the power x. Let's just keep it here for reference. Now, h inverse x is equals to 3, and I have to find x, right? So, can any of you tell me how can I convert this into an x using this form? Do any of you happen to know this?
I think
If I
you swap the y
yeah,
and the x around,
a better way of saying
and then you
this
can,
would be to
and then you.
perhaps, yeah.
So
No,
when
no,
you
continue,
swap
continue.
the x and y around, and then you
Yeah.
and that 3 is equal to y, so then you can say 2 to the power 3 is equal to x, and that's equal to 8.
Okay, you're right. You're absolutely right. We can definitely do that. Okay. One other mathematical way of looking at this, as in the reason why you can do the method that you just said, is introducing hx to both the sides. Okay. What you just said is the same thing as this, but this is the more mathematical approach of doing this. This is basically the derivation of why you can do that mental math. Okay. So you introduce hx to both the sides. And I don't mean introducing this value. I simply mean the function of this. Now I know from from this that the moment in time I have an hx and an h inverse x, I can erase this entire thing and just write an x here, right? Do you see it? Yeah? Can I see thumbs up if you understand this? Everyone else, do you see it? Do you understand this? I'm only getting response from 2 people. Okay, thank you so much. So what I'm basically doing here is introducing the function to both the sides. Okay, so when I introduce hx here, this entire thing becomes x. That's basically the reason, Sam, as you just mentioned, that is the what you did was the mental math, but this is the derivation of it. Okay, so this is the logic behind doing that. So now I can directly find x if I just input 3 into my x, right? Into this equation. So h3 is equals to 2 to the power 3 equals to 8. As simple as that. So my x is equals to 8. This is equals to 8. Okay? Are you all with me? Now, you don't necessarily have to follow this step. The reason I'm teaching this is because I'm assuming, since you guys are very near your exams and you're also giving your IGCSE Maths, I'm assuming that there's a very good chance you'll also be pursuing A levels maths and also doing maths in your future in higher studies, right? So just something that you know, beforehand that might help you in the future. Okay, you can also just use the mental math way. You just plug this here and you turn this into an H3 and you're also good to go. There's no worries with that. Okay, so there's that. Let's move on to the next question. This question is also from quadrilaterals and triangles. Let's figure this out. This question says the diagram shows a quadrilateral ABCD. So this is A, B, C, D. CD is equal to 10 and DB is equal to 12. So this is 10, this is 12. They've already shown everything to us. DBA equals 90, as in this one is 90, as the diagram suggests. And angle CDB, basically this is 56 and this is 34. The question already tells us everything here, the diagram, okay? Now they want us to find the length of AB, as in basically this. Now the first part is very easy because if you can visualize this, it's basically a triangle, which is right angle triangle. This is 34. This is 12, right? And they basically want us to find the base. It's very easy. Do you know which trigonometric ratio to use?
SOHCAHTOA.
Exactly. So the angle is given. The adjacent side is given. I have to use the opposite one, right? So opposite, adjacent, and theta. Which exact trigonometric ratio involves all three of these? It's tan theta, right?
Tan.
Exactly. So tan theta is equals to opposite over adjacent. So this comes out to be 12. Sorry, 12 is the adjacent one, and opposite is AB in our case, right? AB. The tan theta is also given, tan 34. So for AB, all you have to do is AB is equals to 12 into tan 34. Are you with me? Any questions at all? So if you plug this in the calculator, you should get something like 8.09. Okay? Let's just write it. Something tells me that we might have to use this in the later parts. Calculate the area of the quadrilateral ABCD. Now, the problem with area is this ABCD is not necessarily, wait, let's just see. Okay, so this ABCD is not a regular shape. It is a quadrilateral with two different triangles, right? So let's see, in order to find the area of triangle, we know two formulas, right? Formula one is the one that we've used since childhood. It's half base height. And the second formula is, number two, is half AB sine C. Okay? Is there anyone present here who has seen this formula for the first time today? Would you like me to cover this formula, or do you already know how to use this? Okay, wonderful. So in order to use this formula, I have to ensure three things. Sorry, I have to ensure two things. The first thing is that I have two known lengths beside each other, like AB, and the C has to be the angle in between those two lines. I have all three of these, right? So I can easily plug this in. And for the first one, I need the base. Base is 8.09. The height is 12. I already have the right angle triangle, right? So let's plug in these values. For the first triangle, it's half into 8.09 into 12. And then for the second triangle, it comes out to be half. For AB, I think it's 10 into 12. So 10 into 12. And then for sine C, we have sine 56. Sine 56. Any questions? Are you all with me? So this, I believe, is 48.54. This, I believe, is 49.74. And if you add the two of these, you should get something along the lines of 98.28. So you could round this up, or you could round this to 98.3. Are you all with me? Anyone here who'd like me to repeat the question or repeat anything here? Okay, thank you so much. Please stop me at any point if you feel like I have to repeat something, okay? So calculate the perimeter of the quadrilateral ABCD. Now, if I can recall correctly, I have two unknown angles here, right? Sorry, two unknown sides here. So they asked us to find the perimeter. For the perimeter, I have to use all four of these, the outer lengths. I have been given this 10. I have found this 8.09 out. Now I have to find this out and this out, okay? So let's see. For this one, let's erase this for our convenience. For this one, this is very simple because it's a part of a right angle triangle. And for right angle triangles, we can always just get away with using the trigonometric ratios, right? So this is the hypotenuse, hypo. This is the adjacent, and we have a theta. So the one that involves adjacent and the hypotenuse is cos, right? Yeah. Okay. So we could very easily just solve for, wait, give me a second. Let me just see. So there's also multiple ways of doing this. We could also use, since we have the angle and we have two other sides, there's a lot of ways of solving this. Okay. You could choose any method that you want. And let's just see if we have done this properly. I believe we have. So yeah. What can any one of you use the trigonometric ratios and you give me the answer? Anyone, you can use sine, you can also use cos, you can also use tan. In fact, you can also use the a square plus b square equals to c square formula. You can use any one of these. Just find me the hypotenuse. Can you? So let me use cos. I'm going to use cos 34. So cos says adjacent over hypotenuse. That is 12 over hypotenuse, which is AD. Therefore, my AD is equal to 12 over cos 34. Did any of you find the same value? Yeah? Okay, thank you so much. So I have a value of AD to be, I think, 14.5 if I'm not wrong. So let's just label this 14.5 here. Now I have to find the side of CB, right? Or BC. So for this, you'd have to use this formula that is given here, the cosine formula, okay? Using this is the best one for this. Let's explain this formula to you. So let me just find the diagram again. Yeah. So let's clear all of these. Okay. So for this shape, since this is the unknown side, what we do is we keep the unknown side as the subject and we write this as BC square. Okay. And then in the formula, we add the other two sides, which you already know, the squares of those. So 10 square plus 12 square. 10 square plus 12 square. And then we subtract minus 2ab sine c. So basically minus 2, the same two sides again. So 10 into 12. And then what to do is cos the angle, right? 56. Do any of you have any questions with this? The cosine formula, I hope all of you know it. It's very useful. It's going to be in every single paper that you solve. So if it's a formula that you struggle with, please let me know. Or if it's a formula that you have to watch or like you have to have some guidance on, please watch a video on YouTube or something just so you understand this formula better. Okay? It's very important that you understand this formula. So from this, what we get is, I think, root of 109.79. Okay? For BC, if you square root this side, what we get is 109.79. And this would give us, I think, 10.47. Okay? So this side is 10.47. Any issues? Are you all cool with this? Okay, thank you so much. So we have our four sides, I believe. We've just found all four of these. So this is one side, this is one side, this is one side, and this is one side, right? I hope this has been helpful enough. So perimeter is equal to, also I'd recommend that you do all of this workout in this space, okay? The reason I did it up there was just so I could show you the diagram as I was solving the math, okay? So what we add is, I think, 14.5 plus 10, the one given in the question, plus 8.04, the one that we found in part A, and lastly, the 10.47 that we just found out. And all of these would be equal to, I think, 43.1. Okay? So that is 43.1 meters. Okay? Are we all cool with this? Thank you so much. Okay. Moving on to the next question. The next question says, calculate the shortest distance from B to the line AD. There's a very specified and a very straightforward way of doing this. The shortest distance refers to the perpendicular distance. Perpendicular distance. So from B to line AD, let's see where those are. So let's erase these. B is here, AD is this line. So the perpendicular distance should be somewhere along here. I don't think that is straight enough. So it should be somewhere like here, where this and this, they both form 90 degrees. Are you okay with this? Wonderful. So let's redraw this diagram. I knew this was, I believe, but let's see. So we have to now find this length, right? We have to find this length. Let's draw this triangle. Okay, let's use this triangle. I know this is a 90 degree. I know this is 12, this is 34. So all I have to do is just find this side now, right? So let's redraw this triangle. Let me just redraw this here. The triangle was that I have a hypotenuse as 12. I have this as 34, I believe. And then I have to find the opposite from B to AD. AD, right? So sine 34 is equals to opposite by hypotenuse. So it's x over the hypotenuse, which is 12, right? Are you all okay with this? So x is equals to 12 into sine 34. And I believe this has been straightforward. Let me just redraw this diagram so you understand it better. So there's this, there is this, and there is this. This is 90 degree. This is 34. This is the diagram, okay? And this is what we are supposed to find in terms of x. So this, I believe, gives me an answer of 6.71 meters. So that basically just means that this length is 6.71, okay? So let me just redraw this. This length is giving me 6.71. This is the shortest distance from B till AD, okay? Answer is 6.71. I think we are moving towards the end of the paper. Just a couple of more questions. Let's see. So this is indices, where since I have a common base, what I can do is just multiply 3 and 5, and then multiply that with t into 5, t into 3. I know that this part, just let me add this up. So this becomes t into 8 because 5 plus 3, and this part is 15. Any questions? 15, t to the power 8. This is, again, like I said, this will make me use the power of 2, okay? So like I said, 2 to the power 5 was 32. So 2 to the power 6 has to be 64, okay? 2 to the power 6 into u to the power 36, this whole thing to the power 5 over 6. This basically means this has this power as well. This has this power as well, okay? So let's see how this works. 5, 6. So 2 to the power 6 into 5 over 6 into u 36 into 5 over 6. So this gets cancelled out. This becomes 6. This becomes 1. I'm left with 2 to the power 5. Right? Yeah. And this becomes 30. Any questions? 6 and 5? This becomes 30. So let's rephrase that. 32, 2 to the power 30. Okay? That's my answer. You have one method mark for doing this. There's M1 here, and there's one mark here. Okay? I think A1 for accuracy. Are you all with me? Yes?
If I put into the calculator 64 to the power of 506, would I still
Yeah,
get
you
the
can do that
method
as well.
mark, but I
Yeah,
wrote
yeah,
it down?
you get the mark as well. But you have to show this. Okay, because there's no way you can put this in the calculator and you get the answer, right? So you still have to show that you are doing some indices workout here. I hope that answers your question. Yeah, thank you so much for asking that. Okay. If any of you have any questions, please don't hesitate. I'd really like to help you guys out and I'd really like to answer your questions. So the next question is for sets and set notations. So this question says that it shows information about 33 students in a class. So 8 plus 13, that is 22, sorry, 21, plus 7, 28, 33. So I can confirm that there is all 33 students information present here, right? One of the students in the class is picked at random. Find the probability that this student does not study geography and does not study history. So this student does not study geography and does not study history, right? So this is basically just referring to this one particular student, as in this one particular group of students. So that is 5 over 33, because no geography, no history, and of course not both of them at the same time, right? So that's 5 over 33. I hope that's helpful. The next part is studies geography and studies history. Again, that is geography and history, the common part, right? So this is 13 over 33. Very basic questions, very basic answers. This will not have that many marks, just 1 and 1, okay? Two of the students who study history are picked at random. Okay, so this is where our experiment gets limited. They're basically saying that 2 students have already been picked who study history. Okay, so this is not only this but this as well. So our experiment failed is now 20 students. A lot of students make an error here. What they think is that they only have to consider these 7 students. That's wrong, because these students might also have geography, but they're also studying history, right? And the experiment says that we're only picking students who study history. So it does not specify whether I'm allowed to have geography or not. That means I'm eligible as long as I have history. So there's that. Find the probability that one student also studies geography and one student does not study geography. So basically it's saying that I have to pick 2 students from history. Now I have to make sure that one of those students only study geography and one of the other students, the one that is remaining, does not study geography. So it has to be history and geography. This is the first student. And the second student has to be history and not geography. This is mandatory, okay? The other one is this exact thing, but reversed. Do you get it? It's the same thing, but this time, the first student, so this is the first scenario, where the first student is history and geography, and the second student is only history and not geography. The second scenario is where my first student does not have geography and only has history, and the second student is, it has both history and geography. First, second. So the fun thing that you're going to see or observe in these questions is the exact same workout repeated twice. So let's see. So when I say history and geography, I'm basically saying these students out of the 20 students, right? So that's 13 over 20. 13 over 20. Now, the issue is when I'm trying to find this part out, history and not geography, I'm referring to these students, but I have to also take into consideration that one of these students have been taken, right? My experiment has changed slightly. I no longer have 20 students available. I actually have 19 students available because this became 12 now. One of these students have been taken as the first student. Do you recall that? So my workout has now become 13 over 20 into 7 over 19. This changes once, right? Are you all with me? So now let's consider the second scenario. In the second scenario, I'm first going to pick not geography and only history. So that's basically referring to these 7 students out of the 20 students. So let's see, let's refresh. So we have 7 students again. So 7 over 20. Now, when I'm trying to find the second part of history and geography, I'm basically referring to these numbers of people, but it's not 13 over 20, because if you can recall, I had taken a student from here and turn this into 6. So now my total pool has 13 plus 6 equals to 19 students. So my total probability is 13 over 19. I hope that's clear enough. Do you understand this? Okay, thank you so much. I hope you understand this. Please let me know if you'd like me to repeat this, okay? So this comes out to be 13 over 19. And this is the same thing as writing 2 into 13 into 7 over 20 into 19. If you can see, this is the same workout, right? And for this question, you get 2 method marks, M2, for this step, okay? Because this involves a lot of experience and it involves you understanding the scenario in the question. So it involves 2 method marks, not just 1. So for writing this answer, I think this answer is 91 over 190. So for writing this answer, you get 3 marks. So this is 91 over 190. This one step carried 2 marks, okay? I hope that's clear enough for all of you. Thank you so much. Let's move on. This is perhaps one of the easier chapters. So h plus 4. Okay, so when I factorize this, I know I can take h as the common. When I'm factorizing this, I know this is a very common form of a square minus b square, where a is equals to h and b is equals to 4. Are you all with me? So a square minus b square comes out to be a plus b and a minus b. We know this rule, right? So this comes out to be h plus 4, so h plus 4, and then h minus 4. And I can see that these and this are equal. So this and this can get factored out. And I'm left with h over h minus 4. Sorry. So my answer is h over h minus 4. I get 3 free marks for practically doing nothing at all. This is a very easy math we've done in class 7, class 6, class 5. And we've gotten the 3 marks for this, okay? So there are some questions in the paper which are guaranteed 3 marks. And it's very important that you get the marks in these, okay? The next question is, Ahmed walks 2 kilometers at a speed of, okay. So in this question, it's related to speed, distance, and time, that chapter, okay? So there's some formula that we know, the total time, since the question gives the time here already, and it also gives the distance. I don't have to use the formula for distance because I can already see the distance is given here, 2 plus 3 is 5. So let's use the formula of time instead, okay? So I know the time to be distance over speed, right? So the time is given as 1 over 4. It's better to write this as an improper version, so 5 over 4, because that will help us to do cross multiplication later on, okay? Or even if you prefer doing it in decimals, it's completely fine. These are all equivalent, so no worries. So let's try to find the distance over speed now. Walks 2 kilometers at x kilometer speed, okay? Kilometers per hour speed. So I've been given the distance and I've been given the speed for the first one. So let's write it at this. The second part says, he then walks a further 3 kilometers at a speed of x plus 1. So I feel like this has to be the workout, okay? So now the question didn't ask for this. The question rather asked for it in this manner and told me that I have to show this, right? So let's try showing this. For showing this, I have to first take a common denominator here. So let's try doing that. Let's use some more space. So 2 over x plus 3 over x plus 1 is equals to 5 over 4. So this comes out to be x plus 1. This comes out to be 2 x plus 1 plus 3x is equals to 5 over 4. Is there anyone here who does not understand how I got these? Can I move on? Okay, wonderful. So this comes out to be 2x plus 2 plus 3x over x squared plus 1. Sorry, x squared plus x. So this is x squared plus x. This is 5 over 4. I need even more space. So let's bring this up. Okay. So now I can cross multiply. Let's cross multiply. I know this and this make it 5x. So let's just directly write 5x to save some space. Okay, so 4, 2 plus 5x is equal to 5, x squared plus x. This comes out to be 8 plus 20x equals to 5x squared plus 5x. Now, since the question gives x squared as positive, I'm going to take everything to the right hand side. Okay, so 5x squared. So there's a plus 5x here, and there's a plus 20x here. When I bring it to this side, it's going to be minus 20x. This makes it minus 15x. And then similarly, when I bring this 8 to this side, it's going to become minus 8 is equal to 0. I think that is the final step, right? Yeah, that is the final version of it. Any questions? Would anyone like me to repeat this? Okay, thank you so much. So let's move on. Find the value of x, show all your working, and give your answer correct to 2 decimal places. Okay, so there's a hint in the question that this can't be solved using middle term breakdown because the question asks for it in 2 decimal places, right? This means I have to inevitably use the quadratic formula. So for the quadratic formula, let's write the equation once again. Minus 15x minus 8 equals to 0. A is equals to 5, B is equals to minus 15, C is equals to minus 8. Now let's write the formula. It's given in the formula sheet if you want to have a look. But the formula is minus B plus minus root over B square minus 4AC over 2A. Are you all cool with this? So let's plug in the values now. Minus 15 plus minus, there's a square root, so minus 15 square root, which just becomes positive 15 square root. Sorry, positive 15 square. There's a minus 4. A was 5. C was minus 8. And then all over 2 into 5. Okay? So this becomes just 15 plus minus. I think 15 squares are 15 tens are 150. This is 215. This is minus 4 into minus 8, that is 32. 32 fives are is 160. So plus 160. Am I doing? Sorry, this is 225. This is 225, and then all over 10. Okay. Now I'm doing this mentally. You don't have to do this mentally. You have the calculator. Just plug in every single value. I would highly recommend that you use the calculator. Don't take the risk. No need to make small mistakes. Just use the calculator to get the exact values. Okay. I'm not currently with a calculator, which is why I'm making small mistakes. But yeah, there's that. So once you have this, you can get, I think, 15 plus minus 3, 8, 5, 10. If you use this in the calculator, you should have 2 values. I think the values are going to be, as far as I recall this is going to be 3.46, and there's going to be x is equals to negative 0.46. Okay. So you might argue that x has 2 answers, but we have to go back to what the x actually stood for. This x was a speed. Okay. If you have physics and you've learned what different types of formats are, you should know that speed does not have a negative sign. Velocity has a negative sign. Speed does not have a negative sign. Speed only has a magnitude. Okay. So since speed does not have a direction, speed cannot be a negative value. My only answer has to be 3.46 only. Okay. Are we all cool with this? Are you sure? Okay. So can we move on? I think we only have a couple of questions left. So let's just move on. Okay. Yeah, we have exactly 2 questions left. So let's see. P is the point 8, 0, and Q is the point 20, 6. Find the equation of the perpendicular bisector of PQ. Okay. So right off the bat, whenever I see this word, I have to recall 2 rules. For the first rule is that perpendicular bisector goes to the midpoint. And the second rule is the gradient of the perpendicular bisector is a negative reciprocal. Okay. What do I mean by this? Let's just write the formula. 2 is equals to minus 1. So if this line has the slope of 2, let's just say if this line has the slope of 2, m1, then the perpendicular bisector is going to go to the midpoint and is going this direction in a way that it becomes negative half. Okay. Are we all cool with this? That's basically what a perpendicular bisector means. Okay, so let's read the question now. So there's a coordinate given. There's multiple coordinates given, P and Q. So let's write those down. P is 8, 0, and Q is 20, 6. So find the equation of perpendicular bisector. So the first thing we have to do is find the midpoint, obviously. So the midpoint formula, midpoint, is x1 plus x2 over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 over 2. So let's see, 8 plus 20 over 2, comma, 0 plus 6 over 2 equals to 8 plus 20, that's 28, over 2, that's 14, and then 6 over 2, that's just 3. This is the midpoint. Are we all cool with this? Out of 5 marks, you already get 1 mark, okay? So the second thing we have to do is now find the gradients. So the logic is basically, if this is P, this is Q, if I join these, and let's say this point is the midpoint, so I have to first find M1, and then I plug this in the formula of M1 into M2 is equals to -1. So M2 becomes -1 over M1. So I have to find this gradient first, okay? So let's see. The gradient formula M is equals to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's take this to be y2, y1. X2 and y2, and let's take this to be x1 and y1. Okay, this is x1 and y1. So 6 minus 0 over 20 minus 8. That comes out to be 6 over 12, which is half. So my M1 is half. This is half. My M1 here is also half, which makes my M2 equals to -2. Any questions so far? Yeah? No questions? Okay, thank you so much. So with that being said, the last thing we have to do, this gives me 1 more mark. The last thing I have to do is now form the equation of the perpendicular bisector. So this perpendicular bisector with a gradient of -2 is now going to go through this midpoint, and I have to find this equation now. Okay, how do I do this? Y minus y1 equals to m x minus x1. Use midpoint, which we already have here, 14, 3. So y minus 3 is equals to, the m value is -2, x minus, I think, 14. Yeah. So this comes out to be y is equals to -2x, -2 into -14, that is +28, +28 plus 3, that is +31. I hope you get this. Do any of you have any questions? Okay, thank you so much. Y is equals to ax11 to the power 11 plus 3x to the power b, and then there's a dy by dx, and they basically ask you to find this. So if I differentiate this equation, I basically get this, and now I have to find the values of a, b, and c. It's very simple. Let's do this. So the rule for differentiating is you take the power, you bring this up front, you multiply it, and then you take a -1 to the power. Okay? Similarly, bring this here, -1. So let's see. I think I erased something from the top. Okay. So let's see. I have y is equals to ax11 plus 3xb. So I'll bring the powers in front. So 11a x, and then this -1, right? So 10 plus 3. This b comes in front. So 3b x, and then b -1. Are you all okay with this? This is equivalent to, this is equivalent to 44x to the power 10 plus 18xc. Okay, so I can compare these now. This is equal to this, and let's use another color. This is equal to this, and I think, let's say, this is equal to this. Any questions? So 11a is equals to 44, a is equals to 4. Then I have 3b is equals to 18. So b is equals to 6. And then b -1 equals to c. I just got b. So 6 minus 1 equals to C equals to C, C is equals to 5. So I have my three answers. This is 4, this is 6, this is 5. Are you all okay with this? Okay, thank you so much. Last question of the paper, okay? I'm sorry it ran a bit long. I think I gave the time till 4:30, right? If I'm not wrong. It was from 2 till 4:30. So I hope the explanations have been okay so far. Give me just a second. I want to share something with you. If possible, please take 2 minutes to fill up this feedback form, okay? Because as you can tell by now that I don't know if your parents told you this or if you were informed of this workshop is entirely free of cost. So we are not really benefiting anything from this. Our entire purpose, as I might have said in the beginning of the class, was that a lot of students sit for the exams without ever having analyzed the mark scheme, and they're never told how the marks are distributed. So, for example, like I was saying, in this 5 marks, you get 1 mark in this part, you get 1 mark in this part, you get 1 mark for finding days. So, a lot of the examiners or a lot of the students then don't really ever know where their marks are distributed or how they lose the marks. They only think that as long as I write the right answer, um, if you have filled up this form yesterday for IGCSE Maths, I don't think you have to do it again. But for each subject, I'd really appreciate if you fill up the form once. Okay. So our entire purpose was to help you guys or to teach you at least one new thing. So you can tell at the end of the workshop that in this last couple of hours, I've learned at least one new thing. Okay. So I hope this helps you. And I'd really love it if you or your parents reach out to us and you tell us your IGCSE results or your AS results in the future. And it would be very, very encouraging for us if we get to know that something that we've taught might have helped you in the actual exam. Okay. So please fill up the form. You can be very honest about it. You can let me know if I've done something wrong, if I've done something very well, or if you appreciate me doing something. I'd really appreciate it. Okay. Both of us in Cambridge Vantage, me and Mr. Asraf, we'd both really appreciate that. Okay. Please let me know if there's any issues with that. Okay. The last question gives me a cube. So the first thing I know about cube is that all my sides are equal, right? This is equal, this is equal, this is equal, and all my sides are equal. So let's call this x, x, x. Let's see what the question wants. Calculate the angle between the diagonal AP and the base ABCD. So AP is like this, but if you visualize this, you're going to figure out that this is the edge of one face. This is the edge of another face, right? And they basically want us to find the angle between the diagonal and the base. That basically means with this base. Okay. So let's see how we can do this. The first thing I have to figure out is what exactly connects AP. So if I draw a line here, this is the base of PC, which means this could make a triangle, right? Now I have something from which I can refer and find this angle. Does that make sense? So that is my ultimate objective. Okay, I have to find an angle which forms the diagonal and the base, an angle which connects the diagonal and the base. So let's see how we can get there. Let's erase these. So the first thing I have to find is this part, this diagonal, its length, right? So I know this is x, this is also x. There is no rule that says this is x as well. The diagonal of a square is not a base, right? Sorry, is not equal to the sides, right? So let's see how we can use this. Something that we happen to know is since it's a square, this is a 90-degree, right? So if I draw this triangle, if this is 90 degrees, this is A, this is B, this is C. I'm basically just drawing this triangle, okay? So this is X, this is X. I have to find this side. So I can just use the Pythagoras rule. So A square is equals to x squared plus x squared. Just this, right? So a square is equals to 2x squared. And then a is equals to root over 2x squared, which becomes root 2 of x. Any issues with this? No? Okay. Wonderful. So this comes out to be root 2 of x, right? With that being said, now I have to go back to my triangle, the initial, wait, let's draw this properly. This initial triangle, because the question wants from me this specific angle, right? So let's redraw this triangle. No. So this specific triangle now becomes, this is P, this is A, and this is C. Do you see it? If this is the right angle triangle, then I get this exact triangle. Are you okay with this? Yeah? Okay. So this height is X. I knew this. This is X of PC. I just found out AC. So AC has to be root 2 X. And now I have to find this angle, right? So can you tell me which trigonometric ratio connects the opposite and the adjacent? Up
Tan.
over edge. Exactly, tan, right? Thank you so much. So tan theta is equals to opposite over adjacent. So adjacent, sorry, let's plug in the values first and then let's take the arc tan. So opposite is this x over, this is the adjacent, so root 2x, right? I can see this and this gets cancelled out, and there's tan theta. Therefore, tan theta is equals to 1 over root 2. And if I take arc tan, or let's say theta, then I get tan inverse equals to 1 over root 2. Any questions? Do you all get this? If you plug this in the calculator, and I feel like you have to do this in degrees, the answer you get is 35.264, which is approximately 35.3, because I have to write this in 3 figures, right? Are you all cool with this? Okay. So that ends the, let me just stop the recording because that ends the paper for today.